Good morning, grade ones. How are you today? I hope you are well and ready to have loads of fun with Miss Paul. Now, Miss Paul is your ICT teacher. I am sure you already met me in Google Classroom. Now, today, I just want to show you a few things that we do in ICT in the primary school. Now, we do have loads of fun in ICT. It's fun learning ICT, and I just want to show you some of the things we use. After that, we're going to look at robots and how they work. And because of that, I will start by showing you my little tiny robot friends in the ICT lab. So if you look behind me, I have some friends. I will not show you all of them because some of them belong to the big children. Like this one was made by the big children. They built their own robots. Can you see that? Nice. Even you will be able to get to where you can build your own robot. But today we're not building robots. Today we're learning about how different robots work. Now, these are my little robot friends. This one here, can you see him? He's the biggest of them all. He's called Roma. It's called Mr. Roma. And it can roam around, it moves. And if you look at carefully, it has arrows. You will learn what those arrows do. And I have my tiny, whiny little friend here. He's called the Mouse Bot. He's another tiny little robot friend of mine, and he also has arrows. We use these arrows to move him. And then my last friend and my favorite friend is Mr. Beebot. What does it look like? Mr. Beebot looks like a bee. That's why he's called Beebot. He is a bee robot. Now, Mr. Beebot has these orange arrows, 4 of them, and he has a green arrow, one green arrow. That one green arrow is the go arrow. And then it has an arrow with an X and an arrow with a pose. Now, I can make Mr. Beebot move. And I'm going to show you how I make my Mr. Beebot move. I use these arrows to tell it to move. So when I'm talking to it, I'm giving it instructions. So we're going to see how we give instructions to a robot. This is my robot, and I'm going to give it instructions. When you give instructions to someone, you tell them what to do. So let's start giving Mr. Beebot instructions. And which instructions do we want to give him? To move around. So I'll put my Mr. Beebot on this table, and I'll move this robot here so that we have more space. And I want Mr. Beebot to move from here to there. So let's see if it will move. So I press this orange arrow. This means go in front. After I press it, I tell it go. If I want him to turn, I press this. And if I want it to turn again, I press that. But if I want to tell him to move backwards, I press that. So let's start. I'm going to tell it to go in front 2 steps. So I'm going to press 1, 2, then I tell it go. 1 and 2. And it stops. Then I have to tell it, forget what I told you because I want to tell you something else. For it to forget, I have to press the X. And then it will forget. So that if I tell it to go, it can't go because it can't remember. So I'm going to tell it the next thing to do. I want him now to move backwards 2 steps. I use the arrow behind here, so I say 1, 2, and then I say go. Now look at him, he's moving backwards. And if I want him to turn, I have to use these two arrows. These are the arrows for turning. And if I want it to forget, I have to use the X. So I click the X. Now, I want Mr. Beaver. He's facing that way. I want him to turn and face the book. So I'm going to press this arrow once, and I press go. There, this is the book. Now, why is Miss Bot telling you about Mr. Beebot and you don't have a Beebot at home? Don't worry. We're still going to use another Beebot that is on your screen. So on your computer, we can get another Beebot, and Miss Bot has put a link in Google Classroom that will take you to that Beebot. So let us see how that screen Beebot works. Good. So this is my screen Beebot, and my screen Beebot lives on letter K. It has a nice mat, and Mr. Beebot can help us learn our letters by us telling it to move to different letters. So this is Mr. Beebot, but the arrows are too small. So I have to use the big arrows here. If I want it to move forward, that is the arrow. If I want it to move to the right, to turn right, that is the arrow, turn left, and this is move back. And do you remember the X? It is for making it forget. And the house means take it back to its home. So let's tell Mr. Bieber to move to letter C, calico. How many steps to letter C? 1, 2. That means I come to this forward arrow, the one facing in front. It's called the forward arrow. And I press 1, 2. Now, when I do that, look here. It draws the arrows down here in the orange part so that I can know that I've told Mr. Bieber to move forward 1, 2 steps. Now I can tell it go. Let's see if it goes to letter C. Good, it goes to letter C. Now remember, before I tell it to do anything else, I must make him forget this forward. So I press the X and drags the arrows. That means it's forgotten. Now I want Mr. Bieber to come back to its home, letter K. I press the house. And it jumps back to his home. Now I want him to turn so that it faces this book. What do? I use the arrow that is facing left. So I press it once, then I press go. It turned. Can you see now it's facing the book? I want it to move 2 steps to the book. Now I need to make it forget that it turned. Otherwise it will turn again. So I make it forget by clicking X. Now I want it to move to the book. How many steps are those? 1, 2. That means this is for moving in front. Don't ever go to this if you want it to move. This will make it turn round and round and round. So we want it to move 2 steps in front. 1 and 2. And I press 1 and 2. And there we are on the book. So that is how Mr. Beebot moves. I want you now to practice on your own, moving the Beebot to different letters. I have attached a worksheet on your Google Classroom that tells you where to move the Beebot from. So I only have 5 numbers, 5 activities you're going to do, 5 tasks. 5 places to move the Beebot to. And then after that, you can just practice playing around with the Beebot on the letter mat. I hope you enjoy. Have fun.